Dust filled the air, thick and choking. John coughed, clutching Mary tighter. Her tiny face, pale against his chest, was the only light in this new, terrifying world. Buildings around them groaned, their insides spilling onto the shattered streets. Acrid smoke stung their eyes. He shielded her, whispering reassurances he barely believed himself. The world had ended not with a bang, but a whimper. A low, resonating hum that started subtly, then grew, worming its way into their bones. It vibrated in their teeth, stole their breath. Then the sky tore. The world buckled. Once familiar landmarks twisted, contorted, then crumbled under the weight of the unseen force. Screams ripped through the air, competing with the grinding of metal and the roar of collapsing concrete. It was the sound of the end, and in his arms, Mary slept through it all. It had begun like any other day. The sun, a golden promise in the blue, had painted long shadows on the sidewalk as John walked Mary to the park. They were laughing, her tiny hand clutching his finger, when the air grew thick. The laughter died in their throats. A low hum resonated deep within the earth. Birds scattered, their panicked cries lost in the growing din. People stopped, faces etched with confusion, then fear. John felt it too, a primal instinct screaming at him to run, to hide. He scooped up Mary, her small body trembling against his. Then the sky tore. It began as a shimmer, a distortion in the blue. Then, like fabric ripped apart, a jagged line appeared, widening, revealing a swirling vortex of colors that defied description. The hum intensified, a physical pressure now, squeezing the air from his lungs. Panic erupted. People ran, a tide of humanity desperate for an escape that didn't exist. Days bled into weeks. The initial chaos gave way to a terrifying new reality. The world as they knew it was gone, replaced by a desolate landscape punctuated by the ruins of civilization. John moved through the wreckage, his only focus Mary's survival. They found shelter in the skeletal remains of a grocery store. Food, scavenged from abandoned homes, became their lifeline. He boiled water over crackling fires, the flickering flames reflecting in Mary's wide, too knowing eyes. She didn't cry, not anymore. The world had stolen her tears along with her laughter. He clung to the radio, its static-filled pronouncements his only connection to the outside world. Governments, what remained of them, spoke of containment, of explanations, lies. He saw the truth in the twisted metal, in the empty eyes of refugees searching for something, anything familiar in the wasteland. The hum never ceased. It was a constant companion, a reminder of the unseen force that held them captive. It wormed its way into their dreams, a low thrumming that spoke of oblivion. He saw it in the faces of the other survivors, the haunted look of those living on borrowed time. The air grew colder, the light from the ruptured sky casting the world in an eerie, perpetual twilight. Animals behaved strangely, their instincts corrupted by the unseen energy that permeated everything. He hunted them, a necessary cruelty, his heart hardening with each kill. Mary never complained. She was his shadow, his reason for breathing in this world that had forgotten how to live. He told her stories, remnants of a forgotten time, his voice a balm against the encroaching darkness. But hope was a flickering candle in the wind, and the shadows were lengthening. They found refuge in an abandoned church, its stained glass windows shattered, the cross askew. It felt sacrilegious, seeking solace in a place meant for prayer, but there was comfort in the familiarity. He sang to Mary, hymns his mother had sung to him, his voice cracking with unshed tears. She slept in his arms, her small breaths the only sound that mattered. He watched her, his heart breaking and healing in the same beat. The world outside was dying, but in the sanctuary of his arms, she was safe. For now. The hum intensified, a physical pressure now, squeezing the air from his lungs. A tremor ran through the ground, shaking the fragile foundation of their shelter. The tremors were growing stronger, more frequent. It wouldn't be long now. He cradled her closer, whispering stories of brave knights and magical lands, his voice a shield against the encroaching darkness. Lullabies for the end of days. The radio crackled to life, the voice strained, desperate. A final broadcast, a warning. The energy surges were increasing, reaching a critical point. Soon it would be too much. The planet would shatter, consumed by the very force that gave it life. John stared at the ruined city, at the sky bleeding impossible colors. He knew what he had to do. The thought tore through him, sharp and cold. It was a choice no parent should have to make, a sacrifice too great to bear. He looked down at Mary, his precious daughter, her face peaceful in sleep. He could try to outrun it, cling to the desperate hope of survival. But the world was dying. He couldn't bear the thought of her last moments filled with terror, with the agony of a world unraveling. He had to give her peace. He had to give her mercy. His heart shattered. He found a bottle of sleeping pills amidst the rubble, a cruel irony in a world where sleep offered no escape. His hands trembled as he crushed them, mixing the bitter powder with water. It was a potion, not of healing, but of oblivion, a final act of love in a world gone mad. He held her close, whispering apologies against her hair. She stirred, her big eyes looking up at him, filled with trust, with love. His resolve almost crumbled, but he couldn't let her suffer. He wouldn't. He held her hand as she drifted off, his tears mixing with the dust that coated her cheeks. The hum grew louder, a deafening symphony of destruction. He closed his eyes, holding her tight, and waited for the end. The world outside screamed. He woke to silence, a heavy, suffocating silence, devoid of even the wind's whisper. The air hung thick and still, heavy with the scent of ash and something else, something alien and cold. He opened his eyes, expecting to see the remnants of a shattered world. But the world remained. Broken, yes, but still there. The sky was a canvas of muted greys, the air eerily calm. The hum was gone, replaced by a ringing emptiness. It was the silence of a world holding its breath, unsure of what came next. He looked down at Mary. She slept peacefully in his arms, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Relief, sharp and piercing, flooded him. It was a selfish relief, he knew, born of his own survival. But it was there, intertwined with the guilt and the grief. He was alive. She was alive, but what kind of world awaited them? He buried the empty pill bottle deep beneath the rubble, a silent testament to the impossible choice he had almost made. It was a burden he would carry, a darkness he would shield from his daughter's innocent eyes. He would tell her stories of bravery, of hope, of a world reborn from the ashes. They walked towards the rising sun, two figures silhouetted against the desolate landscape. The world was quiet, but he could hear echoes in the void, whispers of the countless souls lost. He would carry their memory with him, a reminder of the fragility of life, of the love that endured even in the face of oblivion. The future was uncertain, a vast, terrifying unknown, but as long as he had Mary, as long as their hearts still beat, there was hope. Hope for a new beginning, a chance to rebuild, to honor the sacrifices made, to make sure that even in a world gone mad, love, in all its messy, heartbreaking glory, would always find a way.